Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope y'all are well. Got a story I want to share with you today, and it's kind of personal for me because I'm black. I was a black kid. I'm a black mother of two black sons. I have black friends, and we all share our experiences about what it was like going to school. Even our parents, like my parents went to segregated schools, so they had a different experience. The in school experience to me, the way that my parents described going to school was like they had this black excellence environment. Like their school was named Booker T. Washington. Like, all our schools were named after, uh, you know, profound black people who had done wonderful things in this country. And they were staffed with black professionals who had gone to HBCUs, had done the black pipeline of education. So it was different. And so my generation, when I went to school, I went to all black schools. They were public schools, but they were in all black communities. And I am a product of that black excellence Booker T. Washington generation, Booker T. Washington school generation. I didn't go to school in white spaces where I was subjected to mental health issues, and I think that plays a huge role in my confidence, in my the way that I think critically, the way that I carry myself in public. A lot of those things I got from going to school in black spaces. My teachers taught me how to code switch. My parents taught me how to code switch. A lot of things went on in our households outside of school. So our parents did not rely on the school system to teach us all the things that we needed to have in order to navigate living in this racist society that we live in. Fast forward um, years later, 20 years later, so not even 20, 17, 18 years later, when I have my child and I move to a totally different place where, you know, to put it kindly, it was the birthplace in the deathbed of the Confederacy. And segregation is everywhere. Now I grew up in a segregated community, but I didn't know or feel like I was segregated. I felt like I was in black heaven. Our neighborhood was black. My friends were black. The people on the left were black. The people on the right were black. The people across the street were black. Everybody looked out for each other. Um, it was different. And then I moved to a place like here where I live now, and it's a totally different experience. Now, it's been good. It has its drawbacks. The reason that I chose this place was because it was small. I had sons, and I needed to raise my sons someplace safe. Their families were here, and I wanted to have a different type of uh, my children have a different type of childhood experience growing up with extended family members that I did not get because my mother divorced my dad when we were really young, and my mother had mental health issues. So she was, doing her own thing and dealing with her mental health issues the way that she saw fit, but it wasn't in our best interest. And so a lot of times we were isolated from other people. I didn't want my children to have that experience. And so I chose to live away from my family and allow my children to be around their family. And I don't regret the decision at all. I'm pretty sad that I did not have the same type of childhood at times, but that to me was a saving grace for my sons because they had family support, they were loved, they had good friends. Um, we lived in a lot of all Black communities, but as I became more upwardly mobile and um, we got better jobs, got more education, so on and so forth, we were able to get into more mixed communities, mixed situations, whether it was sports or church or whatever. But the one thing that was constant was the school systems here. And the school systems were notoriously racist, notoriously um, exclusive, and they catered to making sure white people maintained society and that Black people stayed on the bottom. And it started early in school. And I'll never forget, I was really young too, I was a young mama. I'll never forget, I went to school one day to visit my son in class, and his whole classroom was a bunch of little Black boys. And all the Black boys lived where we lived. Maybe one or two little white boys, but the majority of the class was Black, and the teacher was white. And I recall that teacher really didn't teach those kids anything the whole school year. Um, she was acting like they were so slow. They always focused on behavior. She did. And then at the end of the school year, she recommended pretty much the whole entire class stay back. Now, a lot of those kids went to Head Start and some of the other, low income programs. They didn't go to child care centers where their parents paid and prepared them for the K through 12 experience. And a lot of times, our kids, our families can't afford it, one, but also we don't understand the differences in education. We don't understand that when you're poor and you're Black, or you're poor, period, you get one education, and then if you have means, there's another route for you. And we have to work extra hard all our lives to make up for that deficit of inequity in education and the inequality in all things when it comes to being Black in America. And so I just remember this lady was like, "Oh, well, we're going to keep your son back." I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "He's not learning." I was like, "He's not, he ain't special. Like, what, what's the problem? He does fine. He knows how to do everything, include be bad. He could talk good. He can learn. It's not like I didn't work with my children at home, because I always knew early on that black boys are, they just have a different experience in this world. So I was like a mama bear just about them. And so I actually moved to a different county because of the experience that my son had in kindergarten or first grade. I can't remember. I think it was first grade. But from that point on, it totally changed how I saw um, public education with boys, Black boys, and their teachers. And the majority of teachers in this country are white women. And it just seemed like it was a problem all the time. So, I had to work jobs where I could get off when my, kids were having issues at school, so that I could go and see what's happening. I would go literally sit in the classroom, and because of my spiritual discernment, I could just tell when a teacher was racist. I could tell how she greeted me. I could tell how, her tone. I could tell how she talked to the kids. I could tell how she teach. I just knew. And so when I knew my kids were dealing with a racist teacher, it taught me to believe everything that they said. When they came home and they told me something about the way that a teacher treated them, kids know when teachers don't like them and are giving them a hard time, because they know, if you have a loving, caring home and good parents, you know how your parents treat you. You're not going to deal with somebody who is or tolerate somebody who is treating you differently. So you're going to cry out to the people who are supposed to protect you. And that was the attitude I always had. And I just stayed at the school and I just became really familiar around the school district because I didn't have any problem. I would go to meetings and complain. I would join, the parent teacher association. I would go to the school district. I just took it seriously because I understood that our kids were never going to get a fair shake. And so as the years went on, I ended up somehow inadvertently becoming an advocate, not just for my sons, but for a lot of Black boys. And I have so many stories of, parents who had to work to take care of their kids and they send their kids to school basically because the law required them to, and two, because it was a babysitter. But they had no idea what their kids were going through at school. And these kids would come over to our house and we'd play games, swim in the pool, eat. It's the most important thing. Gotta have food. But I would just sit in another room sometimes, and I would just listen at the boys talk about their experiences at school when playing sports, dealing with racism. You got to deal with racist teachers. You got to deal with racist students you play sports with. You got to deal with racist students and teachers who think because you're smart, you don't deserve what you deserve. And if you're better than them, somehow it's a mistake. So um, they got to outdo you or they have to pick at you. And my sons experienced that a lot. And in that, I learned that a lot of the Black boys dumbed themselves down so they didn't have to deal with the racism piece. And that was so disturbing to me that the entire for 12 years our kids sometimes, and if your kids go to preschool longer than that, but our kids be enduring racism as soon as they go to school. Like, it is just insane to me how we have to protect our children, and so many parents do not. And so when I saw this story about Black kids facing racism before they even start school, I was like, yes, they do. They experience racism when we get pregnant because you got doctors who don't really want to take care of you. You go to the hospital and they treat you differently when you give birth. When you go through the you know pediatric phase, when your kids are going through uh, care, family medicine care, until they get to an age where they can go to school. You got to go get all these shots and have all these things. Like, there's just so much trauma. That's the best way I could describe it. There's so much trauma in our experiences that it is just not even funny. And sometimes I think it's a wonder that we are able to even function because of the amount of racism we experience. I hardly ever go a day that I don't experience it. I've had several experiences recently, and I'm just like, does it ever end? I'm 51. I'm like, I'm tired, but you always have to be on guard. You always have to deal with the microaggressions, and that's when you get to a certain level in society and you deal with certain people. Because I work in circles with people who are in government, and I work with different people from across the country, and oftentimes I'm the only Black face in the room. I deal with microaggressions frequently, and more often than not, it's from white women than white men. And it is so annoying that you never get a break from racism in this world if you are, African American. Everybody hates us. You could be just minding your business, doing your job, and somebody gotta just exercise their right to be racist towards you or your children or somebody. And so I find myself now in this position where I have to hover for my grandbabies, and not the girl, because I don't have any issues with the my granddaughter. I have a granddaughter and two grandsons. But my grandson, oh my gosh, I have so many issues with both of them. And both of them go to school in predominantly white settings, and is a problem all the time. And I just moved back here maybe last year, but I cannot tell you how many times I've had to go to the school, and it's in the same school system that my sons went to school in. But because I'm a notorious bulldog, and when you call my name at the school district office, people know who I am. I try to reserve my social credit to when I need it, but this year I had to pull it out. And someone that works at the school district office actually was the coach for my sons in high school, and eventually became my sons' principal for a couple of years in high school. So he's now over all the teachers in the school district. And I was just having so many issues with my grandson. I went to the school myself to just see, and I saw how they treated him. And it hurt my feelings so bad. I was like, I got to get back out here and start kicking these witches' behinds again. Let me get at it. So I had to call the school district and speak with the head of instruction, who, like I said, was my son's coach and principal. It was like 10, 12 years ago. And as soon as I called him and I was telling him what was going on, and I was like, now you know me. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I know you. I remember you well. I remember your voice. I remember everything. And I mean, when he said everything, I was giving them folks hell, because they had a lot of our black kids in special education, and they could play football, basketball, run track, do all these things. But when it came to academics, they needed to be in special education, which would mean they would not get a high school diploma, which means they couldn't go to college and they could not get a job because jobs were requiring high school diplomas. These kids have been labeled special in elementary school, and their parents never questioned, never, pushed back, nothing. And so these kids were dealing with not only the humiliation of being in segregated special needs classes, they had to deal with the um, knowledge in high school that they were not going to get a high school diploma. And they would come over to my house, and I raised really kind, compassionate, thoughtful sons. And so they would always come and bring me a project. Mama, so and so, I was talking to so and so, we were in the gym, and everybody's talking about going to college, and this one said he can't go to college because he takes these classes and he won't be able to get a high school diploma. I was like, so you said now he's playing football and he can run plays, he can learn plays, he can do routes, he can do all this stuff. He can follow instructions that the coach tell him. But you mean to tell me he can't read? He can't do this? Oh, mm-mm. So, I would talk to the kid and, try to get a feel for how, um, they wanted to handle it. And most times I haven't had a child that say, oh yeah, I like being in special education, I'm gonna stay here because it's easy. Most of them was like, no, I want to be in the classroom with my friends, I want to do the things that my friends do, I want to go to college. And I was like, okay, well, you want to do it, well, we gonna do it, I'm gonna fight for you. Those kids would just light up. And I can't tell you how many sons that I have walking around here today. If they see me today, half of them I can't even remember their names, because it was so many. But I had to fight for a lot of black boys, not so much the girls, but boys. And I can't tell you how many young men I saved in high school. They were able to get a high school diploma instead of getting a certificate. And now they're employed. Some of them are married. A lot of them went to college. They have their own families. But they never forget that advocacy and fighting for them. And so when I read this story about, our kids facing racism and it's creating a mental health crisis, yes, it is. Because I witnessed it with my grandson this year. I mean, he would come over to the house. He would get these little notes, and it's simple, little frowns in the book every day. How was your behavior? Every day, nothing about what my grandson learned. A frown. Levi talked today. Levi did stand in line. Levi did this. Levi did it. What? So, what color is this? It's red, it's blue. Well, count to 10, asking him things about things that he should know at his age. And he knows those things. He can talk well, but all they focused on was his behavior. And it was every day, it was all day long. He had a racist witch for a teacher. And so I ended up going over to the school, and I could tell by midpoint in the school year, he was getting beat down. And I like had to get into my son's behind. I was like, son, you did not see me sit on the sidelines to let nobody mistreat y'all. I don't know why you sitting up here letting somebody mistreat your grandson. I'm sorry, your son. But it's not gonna happen on my watch. So this is what you need to do. And this generation don't like confrontation like our generation for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's because I can't explain it, but I did not raise people who don't speak up and fight for themselves. But my son, for whatever reason, and his mother, which she's biracial, so that's a whole other dynamic. But this son, he just was like, it's not my job, which I could understand, because I raised him to understand that women, primarily are the caretakers. So they're the ones who are supposed to be responsible for, raising the children, protecting the children. But she just is not capable because she didn't get it. And, you add that whole biracial thing to it. When one of the parents is white, it just messes up black kids, especially the ones who can't pass. And so that's what my grandson is dealing with. And I'm like, y'all not finna have my son walking around here messed up, my grandson. I'm gonna need y'all to step it up. And so I had to take the mom over to the school to show her how to advocate for her black son. And so I was like, pointing out to her when we were at a meeting, you see how all these white ladies sitting over there, we're sitting over here, they're sitting in a circle talking to themselves about your son, and I'm asking questions, and you see the types of questions that I'm asking, and they can't answer them. She's sitting there quiet, not saying nothing in the meeting, but not saying anything. And I'm there like with my blackest, black attitude. And, I was just like, honey, I see why they are running over my grandson, because you are in here letting them dictate what happens to him. and you're not saying anything, you're not asking any questions, you are not advocating, showing that you are going to protect your son. You're showing that you believe everything that they say. You are in agreement with what they say, your body language, everything. I'm sitting up at the table like Queen Latifah slash, you know, Angela Davis, blackity black, pro black. And, she's just sitting there like little white lady. And I was like, I'm going to have to take this job away from her because she just ain't able to do it. And even after that meeting, we kept having issues. So I had to pull my social credit and call my contacts, the people that I knew in the school district. Once I did that, I didn't have any more problem out of those teachers because the person that I called could hire and fire every teacher at that school, including the principal. So they were shocked that my grandson knew somebody that high up in the school district office, and that I had a personal relationship with them where I could just call and be like, hey, and this man he's white, I'm sorry. He's a white man, but he's a good white man. And he grew up in a small rural town, the town where I live. And he's not prejudiced. So he knows what these teachers do, and of course, they'll throw a rock and hide their hand. But he knows that I don't cry wolf. I don't waste my social credit. I don't holler and scream about everything because some things it's not worth it. Sometimes you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. And that's something that you learn, dealing with racism in America. But, my point is that we have to advocate for our children. We just can't be letting our children go up into the lion's den every day after day for 12, 14 years and think they're going to be okay. Especially not this generation. This is the marshmallow generation of children. They can't take nothing. They feelings stay hurt. Everything about their feelings. They don't communicate. They're used to texting. They don't talk. They don't write. They type. They don't have the social skills that we do. Most of them are introverts and don't like to be around people. It's just a different generation. And so we have to go above and beyond. Parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody gotta rally around these kids and support them, because now, the demonic agenda is in the school districts. They're in the school systems. They're on the school boards. Not they haven't always been, but now these people are openly practicing racism and Satanism at the same time. And so our kids do not stand a chance. And then you have parents distracted, trying to make up for not being there by buying stuff, phones, tablets, shoes, clothes, getting hair done, playing sports, and all these other things, and that are just not even worth anything. We gotta get ourselves together. As Yasharel, here we are, we are learning who we are. Our children are who we are too, and we ain't taking good care of them. We have dropped the ball when it comes to taking care of our children who are growing up to be dysfunctional adults. We have to take ownership of that, and we have to take control over our children's mental health. And in that, it means, we got to do a better job of communicating. We have to do a better job of paying attention to our kids, what's going on. I'm thankful that I'm intuitive and extremely sensitive to the needs of others. It's a blessing and a curse. But especially, Black men and boys. And I'm thankful for it, but sometimes it's really overwhelming because so many people don't pay attention to the needs of boys who grow up to become men, and they're dealing with mental health issues that stem from, being in a racist society, going through a racist school system for 12 years, dealing with racist classmates who, torment you during gym and torment you when you're playing sports, even if they're not at your school, at other schools. Um, White people tend to grow up and go off. Sometimes in high school, you'll have the best friend in high school, but when it's time to grow up and become white adults, they go off and become the white adults. They go through the white adult pipeline, and you're left to, just experience life with no white people. And the white people brag about all the good times they had in high school with black people, but they don't have any black friends. They don't live in black communities. They don't deal with black people at work because it's not socially acceptable in many spaces. Um, Sometimes it's politically um, cool because you get to say, I'm liberal, I have a black friend. I'm progressive and I work at this organization and we serve black people. But in that capacity, you're really like an overseer, not understanding that that's the role that you are really working in. And so, I just, this whole black mental health thing, like, it's real. Our kids are struggling in schools. I see it with both of my grandsons, especially black boys. Not saying that black girls are not getting it, because black girls are getting it too. But society tends to give black girls and black women more grace than they do black boys and black men. They're like the black boys born with a target on them, and black men grow up to also have targets on them from cradle to grave. And so over the next 2 years, it's really going to be bad. You're going to see these witches in these classrooms do so much harm to our children. They're going to break them down. And so we need to have conversations with people who have young children, constantly, constantly, constantly reminding them that they have to be a bulldog for their children. Watch their children. Your children come home. When they get home from school, they downtrodden, their countenance ain't right. Talk to them babies and ask them, how was your day? What's going on? If you auntie and uncle, call and ask these kids what's going on in school. Do they like the teachers, or ask questions? Show up. Go to the school. Have conferences with these folks. Let them know that you care, and that this one right here, you can't run over. Now, it might be some black children in here who parents never come to the school. You don't know somebody love, but this one right here, I'm gonna show up for this one, especially black men. Black men need to be in schools, period. For nieces, nephews, your children, show up, go get your name put down as somebody can go to the school and talk to teachers or the principal. Do that, especially for these kids being raised in single parent households. Nothing opens the eyes of these witches teaching our kids like a black man showing up and asking questions like, what's going on? I want to check on my niece. I want to check on my nephew. I want to check on my son. I need to check on my daughter. I need to check on my grandbaby. I want to see what's going on. Go to these schools. Let them see you. And don't just go one time and don't go back. Pop up. Ask to talk to the principal. Even if you don't get to talk to a teacher, they got computers, they got ways to let you see stuff. Let folks know you care. If you're going to send your kids to these public schools, you need to go to them, because these people are beating the crap out of our kids mentally and emotionally. And those things have lifelong impacts on everything, on their ability to work, on their ability to learn, on their ability to, relate to other Black people. Um, it's not right. It's the system that we live in, but we have to do a better job of loving each other, uplifting each other, taking care of each other. And don't just think you got to do it for your own, because I did it for anybody. I didn't care. And I didn't always care if you was Black. I got some poor white kids I had to fight for, because nobody was fighting for them, and they were shocked. This Black lady is fighting for me. She don't even know me. This Black lady fighting for me. I'm the only little white little marshmallow around here. Yes, I don't mind fighting for anybody. Um, who's being taken advantage of or who's being mistreated for no reason. And a lot of times these women, unfortunately, in these classrooms, do these kids so bad. They just are evil. They shouldn't even be around kids. And that's a lot of these teachers. So we got to do a better job of dealing with our kids' mental health issues and challenges. And it starts early. When you start sending your kids to public schools, you need to be checking on them. I don't care if you pay and send them to private schools, you still need to check on them. Sometimes private schools worse than the public schools, because the abuse, it can be hidden. They don't have the pipelines. You don't have the social workers and the case management and all the stuff that the public school systems have. Um, and teachers can get away with a lot more when they have resources in those schools. So don't assume because your kid goes to a good school and it's private or whatever, your kid is okay. Because I know plenty of kids who paid to go to Catholic school and other places. They were sexually abused and raped and mistreated, and just had inappropriate relationships with staff. So, when you send your kids off to school, you sending those people who teach your kids spend more time with your kids than you do. So don't assume because your kids are at school, they are safe. Don't assume because your kids go to Head Start or child care that your kid's safe, and the teacher's supposed to be concerned about your child's mental health and emotional and physical well-being. Some of these people are there for a paycheck. They should be working at the recycle center or in the garbage dump. They shouldn't be around nobody who's human so they can destroy them. And we got to get to the point where we understand that. And as far as Yasharel, we just got to get back to, we need to take care of our own. Everybody else takes care of their own but us. We get somebody else's job to raise our kids and treat our kids good and teach our kids manners, and that's your job. That's our job. As community, it's our job. And it's our job also to hold these parents accountable who do not do that. So as you read these stories about these babies having mental health challenges, think about the people that you went to school with and who were mistreated. Maybe you were a child who was mistreated in school. Maybe you went to a racist school district. Um, Maybe you went to a racist college. Or maybe you had a good school, but you had a couple of racist teachers. If you're African American in America, it's more than likely that you had an experience or many encounters with racist students and teachers and principals. nothing has changed. In 2023, 2024, it is only going to get worse. I've seen more evil witches in schools than I could shake a stick at this year than I did when my kids were in school. At least they would try to hide it. You know, the kids would have to tell you, oh, mama, they ain't nice. So and so, they so mean. They say this to me. Now, you go and introduce yourself. These witches won't even look at you. They don't make eye contact. You know, they will ignore you. Like, these ladies are, these teachers real disrespectful. These secretaries and principals, admins, that support staff, they openly don't like you and let you know. So if they do it to you, imagine what they do to the kids when nobody is looking. So with that said, you know, I just wanted to talk about the fact that our kids are dealing with the racism that our parents and our grandparents dealt with. These people are not any better. They are worse. You know, the Bible talks about love waxing cold in the last days. We here. These people are not getting no better. So you can stop hoping for equality, hoping things gonna get better. They ain't getting better. They ain't getting better. We're going backwards. We're not going forwards. We are literally living the end of the Reconstruction era, the second one. So if you don't know what it was like living the end of the Reconstruction era for Black people, I recommend you go do your research, because this is when them folks start burning down our towns. This is when they start running us out of positions of power. This is when they flooded our towns and built lakes. You know, a lot of these lakes got whole Black towns underneath them. This is when they started stealing our property, the end of the Reconstruction era. People had farms, people had houses. This is when the white mobs was getting together and taking people's stuff, taking Black folks' stuff and running them off. People had to go up north and other places, go hide out in the woods. The white folks was plundering your house and burning your stuff down. That was that time. We in those times right now. It's just bubbling, bubbling, bubbling. It's gonna take one thing to set it off. And our children are vulnerable because we've had, you know, 2 or 3 generations that lived through integration, and they have not really had to fight. They ain't seen the cross burnings in your yard. They have not had to deal with white men riding in trucks coming by and doing stuff to you, threatening your kids and doing the stuff that they did during Jim Crow. We haven't had to deal with that. But we're getting to that point. And so when I talk about our children and the mental health crisis, we need to start preparing our children too. We need to talk to our children about the times that we're living in. It's one thing for us to know, but we are doing our children a disservice by not telling them what's going on and how to handle the witches and warlocks that they have to go sit under because the law requires it every single day. The last thing that I want to impart is that it's time for us really to pull our kids out of these schools. Our kids ain't learning nothing but what the dominant society wants us to learn. That's how to be a good worker, how to be a good slave, how to, deal with sexuality and all those types of things. Things that they don't have any business teaching at school. And you wonder why you got so many kids out here screwed up and messed up and want to be everything, don't know, how to hardly wash their faces, but they know what gender they want to be and who they want to have sex with. And they know they want to be emancipated because nobody will understand them. Somehow their experiences are new and nobody in the world has ever gone through what they're going through. they have. It's called the days of Noah and the days of Lot. Ain't nothing new under the sun. So we need to tell our kids just that and show it to them. There's nothing new under the sun. What's going on now went on, ages ago. And because of what happened then, when it got so bad, the sin got so to such a point, society crumbled. All this hate, all this racism, all this lack of morals and integrity, sexual immorality, the lack of faithfulness, like, people not knowing how to relate to each other, people not caring, the selfishness, the narcissism, all of that is countering everything that the Most High wants for us. And so when you look at society and you look at how we live, we don't live according to the laws, statutes, and commandments, the things that this country was supposed to be founded on. Wink, wink. Forget all about slavery, but wink, wink, for the most part, though, that's our laws were created based on the biblical laws, statutes, and commandments. And now here we are. We don't want nothing to do with none of it. And we're like living in a lawless society. With that, we're going to experience a lot more racism. We're going to experience a lot more violence between the ethnicities or the nations, say nations. Like they talk about it in the Bible. We don't have races, we got nations, nations of people. It's going to get worse. So we got to prepare our kids. Stop sending your kids to lion's den without weapons to fight the lion. Talk to your children. Talk every day. Look at them. Love on them. Hug them up. Ask them about the teacher. You make a trip to them schools. Let them see your face. Grandma, granddaddy. I don't care if you live out of town. Go to the school. When I lived in Florida, I would go to the school. I'm going to grandparents' day. I'm coming. If my grandbabies tell me there's a problem, I'm going to tell mama. If mama ain't doing nothing about it, I'm going to ask. And if the child tell me they ain't doing nothing, I'm coming. I'm going to the school. That's what we got to be. We got to be about it because the attacks are going to get worse. And our babies are easy targets. It's easy. Racists are cowards. They will pick an easy target. And our kids are easy targets because most times they know a lot of these kids live in single parent households and ain't no mama got to work. Ain't nobody coming to defend this baby. So I'm going to attack them. Get my racism on. We gotta stick together. So if you don't have children, you need to be talking to people who do have children. And if you have children in your life, maybe you don't have any children, maybe you have nieces and nephews, or you have friends that have children, talk to them. Ask them about school. Ask them about the people who teach them. Do they like them? Do they have any issues? We got to stop being so selfish and self-centered and think about the next generation because we don't defend them, nobody will. So, with that said, everybody is dealing with mental health issues right now. It's just a terrible time to be living in this world. But until the Most High delivers us, we got to fight. Until the Exodus, we got to fight. We can't allow these people to mistreat us. That's not how this is supposed to work. You got to fight. You got to fight your enemy. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect your family. Even if I don't know you, if you're African American, we family. I'm supposed to fight for you. So there's no such thing as me, mine. It's supposed to be ours. Yes, you have a household. Yes, you have a family. But we're all family. And so we need to develop the mindset that we are one, and we need to stick together. Now, I know we got a bunch of ignorant people, and I know people have messed up and they got children by people who shouldn't have children, and children are born that probably shouldn't have been born, but they're here now. And so we got to figure it out. We got to make it work. Figure out ways to work with these people who are a little challenging in our community in order to protect these babies, because these babies didn't ask to be here. And if we don't protect them, they're going to grow up with the same curses that our ancestors grew up with, having to deal with racism. And that's not fair to them. It's an indictment on us. All right, I'm off my soapbox. But protect the babies. We got to protect our babies. That's our job. It don't matter who you are. Don't matter if you know them. Protect the babies. Men folks, protect the babies. Grandmas, aunties, we got to protect the babies. All right, y'all, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit that bell notification so that anytime I upload a new video, you will be notified. Please consider joining Rumble and Odyssey in the event that this channel is taken down. If all the channels are taken down, don't bother looking for me because I will not be back. Consider following me on social media. I'm on Instagram and on Facebook. The links are in the description. Lastly, continue to pray. Continue to prepare for what's coming. Continue to repent for sins of commission and omission. Continue to pray that our people awaken so that we can escape what's coming, and pray to be found worthy to escape all that is coming on this fallen world, because it's coming fast. All right, y'all. This is Marley K. We live another day to fight the good fight, but we got this. We got this. But we got to fight. Can't lay down and die. Cannot lay down and let folks walk on top of you. We're not doing that. Got to keep fighting. So pray for strength to endure all that's coming, and pray for strength and the words and the courage to fight this racism that our children are having to endure in these schools. It's just sad. After 400 years, these people cannot change. But after 400 years, they've shown us who they are. We need to believe them. I'm not going to say not all white people, because we're talking about the nation, all the collective. Not no one or two good white people, because everybody know one or two or three good white people. Ain't but about 18 in the whole country, but we know some. But amongst us, we know some. And don't nobody have no time to be making white people feel good when we have to deal with racism every single day of our lives. In every aspect, there's no part of our lives that's not touched by racism. So if you're white and you're offended, you'll have to just get over it. Be black for a couple weeks and come back and talk to me. Outside of that, I'm not even bothered. If you don't like that, you probably should leave this channel. All right. I'm Marley K, and I'm out of here.